as long as you're consistent with it. And in fact, that's the same for any technique. As long as you're consistent with your technique, it's not a big deal. Yeah, so I mean, shading's like really easy. You guys could figure this out in no time, I'm sure. Basically, I like to top light a lot of my stuff. Top lighting is relatively easy, and it is relatively practical because it's a similar lighting condition to what we experience every day, right? The sun is up in the sky and it lights things down below. So it's very rare for things to be lit from underneath unless you're at a campfire at night. Most of the time they're going to be lit from above to some extent. And what I generally do is, say I've got my formless shape and I just want to light it up. It's like a sphere or something. I'm going to use the shader tool in Unity to just keep my strokes inside so I don't have to think about going outside. Basically, the way light works is the more the more light can bounce off of the object and into your eyeballs, the brighter it will look. Okay, so we're talking about the directness of the light. Now, generally speaking, light travels in like a straight line. Well, it always does. It travels in a straight line from the source to an object. When it hits that object, it scatters, right, in all different directions. And some materials, let light pass through, but for the most part, it scatters. Now, when you've got someone's eye and they're looking at an object that has some light reflecting off of it, right? Nothing is completely like mirror perfect. So let's just say I have the light coming down in this arrow, and that's my white surface. Even though the light's going to bounce mostly back in the direction it came, it's probably also going to scatter in all different kinds of directions. And most of that light, well, some of that light will hit our eyeball. And when that happens, we register how bright this is, right? On the flip side, an edge down here that's not receiving any of the light because it's actually parallel to the light source, right? The actual face, the normal of this face, if you know anything about 3D graphics, so the direction of it is perpendicular to the light source. It basically means that there will be no light hitting this and then hitting our eyeballs. So this looks dark. So that's true for any direction that the light's coming from in any scenario. And so when we take that to our ball here, we can just think about the light, if it's coming from above, what that would look like. It would look like this, where as the surface of the ball slopes away, right? This angle from the heart of the ball towards the light source, as this angle becomes more 90 degrees, less light's going to make it, right? And because it's round, different intensities of light are also going to be gradiated, I guess, away. So there's going to be a gradual change in the amount of light that reaches a given part of the ball. Right? And on the very bottom here, none of it will reach. Now, the thing to really understand about this from like a shading perspective is that you've only got so many shades to work with in your pixel art palette. And because of that, you need to know how to distribute those shades over the ball, right? So it's not necessarily going to be this distance between this light here and this shade here, and from this shade to this shade, and from this shade to the next one down. It's not going to necessarily be linear, that relationship, right? The distance between them is not linear, because the angles, well, that's just not how it works, right? There's probably a scientific reason why. I guess the amount of light bouncing back is not linear. So what this really should look like is, I use like a normal curve basically when I'm doing this. So what I do is I basically have my colors, and I'll use almost none of this color. If you think about the amount of pixels we dedicate to a certain value, if you take all of these hues here, right? So I'm just going to take a block of this, and then I'm going to shift it up, it's kind of like this. That's the distribution of how many pixels per shade. So what that means is like this darkest color here, you might use at the very, very bottom, barely nothing. This color here, you might just skirt around a little bit. This color here, definitely not as much. And then this one takes up a lot. And then you start bringing in less and less of the brighter colors. So that's kind of how I think about when I'm shading, how I approach the stuff that I shade. And that's relatively true for even like, even this gear here. If you actually look at the distribution, ignoring the outline, so the outline's black, that's fine, whatever. But like this color here, there's only like 15 pixels or so. This color here is a bit more, this color is a bit more. And then this one, the body color, there's a lot of that color. And then on the outlines, you know, less again on the top and on the bottom. Now, there are different things you can do to, you know, dither out the changes in color, because obviously the ball won't be like flat like that. That banding that we're seeing here, you know, you can try to balance out the banding, but I don't mind it. I think banding's okay, as long as you're consistent with it. And in fact, that's the same for any technique. As long as you're consistent with your technique, it's not a big deal. So yeah, that's how I usually go about shading. And if I'm going to shade something like a cube, you know, it's pretty similar. Contrast is the big important factor here. Contrast is the thing you really, really, really want to understand when you're doing any kind of edges. So a cube is all about flat sides, flat faces with sharp edges. And the harsher this contrast, the more hard the edges are going to look. So if I was to try to make the transition between this color and this color, you can see that they're two palette spaces apart. If I was to put this color in between, I'm making the transition softer, but I'm also making the edge softer, right? So this looks like the edge is rounded as a result. The changes in light value are gradual, therefore it looks rounded. It looks like there's a sort of a rounded edge on this. Now, if you want to instead make this seem more dramatic and still have this edge, you can do what's called specular lighting, where you light up the corner to make it seem like this is basically replicating a phenomenon where some of the light that's bouncing from the light source is actually hitting this corner perfectly and hitting your eye directly. But what that does is actually makes this look sharper as well. So that's what this is. That's specular lighting here. If we have light that's leaking around the sides, this is called rim lighting. And these are pretty common little tools that you see get replicated in things like a lot of 3D modeling has basically like tools and techniques and things put in to make this stuff happen. Stuff like subsurface scattering, those all have been solved by 3D modeling in the last few years. And so there's a lot of work that's gone into understanding how they work. And so that's why I'm using their kind of terminology. So that's pretty much how I shade. And that's like a bit of a breakdown. Hey pal, thanks for watching. And thanks most especially to the patrons and Twitch subs who support this channel and my game dev project Insignia. To find out more, click the links in the description below. And if you like this video, tell YouTube by clicking the like button, and then YouTube will tell me, and then I'll make more videos. That's nice.